Will you do anything for riches? In a city like Lagos, where the line between survival and success is razor thin, the lure of wealth can be impossible to resist. Chike had always wrestled with that temptation, but when an unexpected chance for fortune appeared, he was forced to confront the question that haunts many. How far would he go to change his destiny? Let's find out in Chike's story. In the crowded city of Lagos, Chike, a young mechanic, struggled to support his family. They lived in a tiny rundown apartment, and despite working tirelessly, Chike's earnings were never enough. His mother, sick with worry, and his two younger sisters, constantly hungry, weighed heavily on his mind. One sweltering afternoon, while fixing a car, Chike overheard a conversation between two men in dark suits, their voices hushed and urgent. They spoke of a secret society that could grant untold wealth, but at a terrible cost. Chike's heart raced. The idea of wealth was too tempting, but the price troubled him deeply. That night, Chike lay awake, the words of the men echoing in his mind. Desperation and hope twisted together, pushing him to find out more. He decided to follow one of the men, John, who was known for his shady dealings. As Chike trailed him through narrow, dimly lit streets, his anticipation grew. John led him to an old, decrepit warehouse on the edge of town. The place was shrouded in shadows, with broken windows and overgrown vines. Chike's anxiety mounted as he approached, and he felt a chill run down his spine. John turned, noticing Chike's uneasy presence. "Why are you here?" John demanded, his voice sharp and commanding. "I want to join the society," Chike said, his voice wavering but determined. John's eyes narrowed, and a look of disdain crossed his face. "You?" he scoffed. "You're not ready. We don't just accept anyone. Go back to your pitiful life." Chike's heart sank as John turned his back on him and walked away, leaving him in the shadows, feeling foolish and rejected. The words stung, but deep down, Chike knew he couldn't give up so easily. The promise of wealth still lingered in his mind. Weeks passed. Chike worked at the mechanic shop, but the constant pressure of poverty weighed heavily on him. Every time he saw his mother's frail face, or heard his sister's cries of hunger, the rejection gnawed at him. He began to lose hope, thinking that he had missed his chance. Then, one evening, while walking home from work, Chike unexpectedly ran into John again. This time it was in a busy market, far from the shadows of the warehouse. John was alone, blending into the crowd, but their eyes met briefly. Chike hesitated, unsure whether to approach, but before he could decide, John came to him. "You again?" John said, his tone a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Still chasing wealth, I see?" Chike swallowed his pride and nodded. "I haven't stopped thinking about it." John studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps you are more determined than I thought." He paused, his expression darkening. "But if you want to join, it won't be easy. The society only accepts those who prove their worth." Chike's heart quickened. "What do I need to do?" John smiled, but it was a cold, calculated smile. "There are 3 tasks. Complete them, and only then will you be considered." "The first task," John continued, "is to steal something of value from someone powerful, without being caught. Tomorrow, go to the city center. There's a man named Chief Jude. Take his briefcase. It contains something we need." Chike felt a wave of fear but nodded, knowing this was his only chance. The next night, Chike lurked in the shadows of the city center, watching Chief Jude as he stepped out of his sleek car, surrounded by bodyguards. The briefcase never left the chief's side, closely guarded. Hours passed as Chike waited for the right moment. When it came, he moved swiftly, snatching the briefcase and disappearing into the crowd without a trace. The following day, Chike returned to the warehouse, where John awaited him. Opening the briefcase, John inspected the contents and nodded in approval. "You did well. Now for the second task." John handed Chike a small black bottle. "Deliver this to a man known only as the Falcon. He's not someone you'll want to anger, so be careful. He lives deep in the underworld, where few dare to go." Chike's stomach churned, but he set off. After navigating the dangerous streets and encountering unsavory figures, he finally found the Falcon, a mysterious man with a piercing gaze. Without a word, Chike handed him the bottle. The Falcon's cold smile sent a shiver down Chike's spine, but he was relieved when the man waved him away without incident. When Chike returned to John, the tension in the air was palpable. "You've completed the second task," John said, "but the third will test your loyalty to the society above all else." Chike braced himself, his heart pounding. What do I have to do? John's eyes darkened. You must bring us the most precious thing in your life and offer it as a sacrifice on the altar of wealth. Only then will you prove your worthiness. Chike's blood ran cold. His most precious thing? His family was the only answer that came to mind. His mother and sisters. The very reason he wanted wealth in the first place. Could he sacrifice them? Days passed, and the weight of the decision pressed down on him. The thought of losing his family for wealth filled him with dread. One night, consumed by guilt and fear, Chike returned to the warehouse, the knife John had given him clutched in his hand. His heart pounded as he stood before the altar, the flickering candlelight casting ominous shadows on the walls. The robed men were waiting, their eerie chanting filling the air. John stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with expectation. "What have you brought?" he asked. Chike stood frozen, unable to speak. The knife in his hand felt heavy, and images of his mother's worried face and his sister's innocent smiles flooded his mind. He realized with a sinking feeling that he couldn't do it. "I can't," Chike whispered, dropping the knife. John's expression turned to one of fury. "Then you will never join us. You've wasted our time." Chike didn't wait for more. Shaking with fear and relief, he turned and fled from the warehouse, the night air cool against his skin. The promise of wealth no longer held the same appeal. As he walked through the streets, the weight of his decision lifted, replaced by a strange sense of peace. Returning home, Chike was greeted by his worried family. His mother embraced him tightly, and his sisters clung to him. Chike knew in that moment that he had made the right choice. Though life remained difficult, Chike found renewed strength. He worked harder, not for the promise of riches, but for the love of his family. And in their love, he found the wealth that mattered most.